Okay. Did we not learn anything from Brian Kelly at Notre Dame or Jim Harbaugh at Michigan? It takes a while. Even Dabo Swinney at Clemson took like 3 or 4 years. It takes a while. People forget that Nick Saban's first year at Alabama, the best college football coach ever, his first year, he lost to look it up, it's like something Louisiana Monroe or something at home. Second year, he got rolled by Utah in a bowl game in Atlanta. It was the third year for the greatest coach ever, Nick Saban, at a football power Alabama. Lincoln Riley averaged 11 wins at Oklahoma. Every year, 11 wins. 5 years, 11 wins. His replacement, the program had absolute momentum. It's a great program. His replacement has averaged 8 wins. This year, their over-under is 7.5. They're picked for 8th in the SEC. The coach before Lincoln Riley at USC was not a Lincoln Riley-level coach. He was a disaster. He got no Power 5 offers, and he averaged 6 wins. Lincoln Riley in 2 years has won 11 and 8. And what Lincoln Riley took over, he's almost doubled the win total on average. The coach before him averaged 6. He's up to about 9.5. So Lincoln's replacement is winning just 60% of his games, and he got momentum from Lincoln. Lincoln had to totally rebuild the roster, had 0 elite NFL players. It took USC, and they're still not there, a couple of years to get their NIL right in a city with multiple pro sports teams where it takes longer to rebuild because it's a very distracted market with a lot of pro stuff, beaches, mountains, and proximity to like Vegas. There's a lot going on here. Have we not learned anything from Dabo Swinney, Jim Harbaugh, Brian Kelly? Rebuilds are hard, even with an accelerated transfer portal and NIL. It's hard. People just don't understand how bad USC was when Lincoln Riley took it over. I'll give you a story. I've got a little bit of access to USC. The previous coach was not a good recruiter and was even worse at developing players. When Lincoln Riley got to USC, his staff earmarked what they believed to be only 35 players good enough to be at USC. 35 in a world of 85 scholarships, less than half the roster. In 2 years, Lincoln Riley, for the first time in USC history, and they've had legendary coaches, have averaged over 40 points a game offensively, have led the nation in offense back-to-back years. He hasn't just fixed the offense. It's been a rocket ship. They've recruited it well. Defense, not so much. But again, that's not Lincoln's side of the ball. Oklahoma has a defensive coach. Their defense isn't elite. At least Lincoln got on the right side of the ball right. So take a deep breath. Lincoln's going to be okay. Their schedule, actually, first year in the Big Ten, they got a little bit of a break. They don't have to face the best team, Ohio State. The second best team, in my opinion, Oregon. They have one kind of dicey road game with weather. Washington in the first week of November. It'll be raining. Michigan's in a total rebuild. Their toughest game is LSU, but their defense was bad last year, and they just lost a great quarterback. USC should be competitive, albeit they'll probably lose to LSU. Lincoln's going nowhere unless he chooses to go somewhere. The recruiting on the defensive side, been a bit disappointing. They finally have their NIL collective right. It's not Oregon, but in the Big Ten, it's top 2 or 3. That will be competitive. And no, Deion Sanders is not going to be USC's football coach. By the way, the next quarterback is Miller Moss, who threw for 6 touchdown passes, 380 yards, and completed 70% of his throws in his one start last year. So it looks like, once again, Lincoln Riley has a quarterback and will develop him into an NFL-level player. I told you to take a deep breath with Brian Kelly at Notre Dame and at LSU. Take a deep breath with Jim Harbaugh. Stuff takes time. It'll be okay. Coming up next, Paul Pierce stops by. What does it say when LeBron and AD are easily the two best players in the Olympics? And what do we make of this team that needs 39-year-old LeBron to save them against South Sudan and Germany? The hell is going on? Cyber News researchers discovered a file posted on July 4th of this year on a popular hacking website that contained 10 billion...
Future, but oh my gosh, Colin, he's not ready for the starting job yet. Listen to what Gerard Mayo confirmed, that Jacoby Brissett is QB1. Listen to this.
Coming out of the spring, I don't think there's any doubt Jacoby is the starting quarterback at this point in time. I mean, we can look at these other quarterbacks on the roster. At the same time, like it's about competition. And so when we get out on the field this summer with the pads on, we'll see how it all plays out. But, coming out of the spring, I think it's clear that Jacoby is the most pro-ready guy we have. He played a lot of football.
Yeah, I think that's what we thought he was. That's not a breaking story. I think we all knew it was Jacoby Brissett, and if Drake May grows by Thanksgiving, he may get a start. But again, we got to be honest about this. Mahomes didn't start until week 17.
Totally different story. They were a good team. They had Alex Smith, the former number 1 pick, as their quarterback. They were a playoff team. Listen, man, this is a horrendous decision.
What's a horrendous decision?
Jacoby Brissett, the 31-year-old
Jacoby Brissett
backup?
is a top 5 backup in the league.
Exactly.
That's right. By the way, why put your young guy out there who's not a refined quarterback? Realistic people knew two things. That of all these quarterbacks, Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, Bo Nix because of his starts, Penix because of his starts, Caleb Williams because of his talent, and Jaden Daniels because of both, were ready to play pretty early. And everybody knew that J.J. McCarthy and Drake May are not ready to start. That's a given. Sam Darnold and Jacoby Brissett should start this year. Now, if you get past Thanksgiving, your team's bad, and you're like, we're going to give the kid a couple of late season starts, but Drake May, footwork, accuracy, he's not ready to start. And J.J. McCarthy, despite all these draft experts, this idea that everybody was moving up the board to get him, not a single GM told me that. Yeah. J.J. is a backup for a year. He's a prospect.
So when the Patriots are 1-8, and everybody's starting to quit, and the injuries are mounting. Let's shove in Drake May, future of our fan. Let's put him out there. That is I totally disagree.
When they're 1-8 at the trade deadline, 1-7, you trade off any piece to get more draft picks. Let Jacoby deal with that, the mature veteran, and then next year you load up on offensive pieces, cap space, and Drake May with a year under his belt is ready to roll. You go into camp saying, you have 11 draft picks. You got tons of money to spend. You go get a Brandon Ayuk. You go get an elite left tackle. This is not the end of the world. I don't think you let Drake May sniff it till after Thanksgiving and maybe give him one last season start to let him get his feet wet.
So I'd like to get a list of guys who probably weren't ready but trotted out there and were terrible, okay? I know Jared Goff started his career horribly. Yeah. Remember Jeff Fisher? He was like 0-7. Yes. Everybody's saying bust, bust, bust. Jared Goff turned out okay. And there was one other quarterback who Eli Manning. Remember him? Well, he was terrible, god-awful. Sorry. He was just horrendous with the Giants, and he turned out okay. You've got to just shove guys out there. They've got to get up to the speed. I think it's a bad decision by the Patriots. I think May's probably going to end up failing.
I think the quarterbacks you're mentioning, like Joe Burrow was ready to start. Lamar Jackson.
I didn't mention Joe Burrow.
I mean, most of the young quarterbacks, you could say, well, Josh Allen. Josh Allen physically was an elite top 10 athlete in the league as a rookie. He wasn't a top 10 quarterback, but he was 6'6", 255 and jumping over linebackers.
But even the way Mayo's talking about this, we can look at these other quarterbacks on the roster. What the hell? These other? You guys just drafted Drake May top 5. He's the future of the franchise. What are you... The dismissive tone, I don't like anything about Mayo. I can't wait to bet against these frauds, the Patriots, this year. My gosh, this team is so bad.
All right. J-Mac with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
Oh, you are fired up today, pal. I'll tell you that. So, regional radio host Paul Feinbaum floated the idea that Deion Sanders as a potential Lincoln Riley replacement at USC.